Welcome back to Unmute Your Mind, the podcast, where we create safe spaces for real stories, real healing, and real conversations. I'm your host, Rochelle, and today's episode is one I think so many of us need to hear. We live in a world that praises hustle, celebrates exhaustion, and tells us to keep pushing no matter what. But what happens when your body finally says enough? Today, we're joined by Stephanie Harris, who is courageously sharing her journey through stress-induced seizures, what her body was trying to tell her before everything changed, and how she rebuilt her life by choosing boundaries over burnout. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it.
And thank you for having me and allowing me to share my story and, more importantly, help people. That's really, that's my gift. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I often think that these seizures, as crazy and as extreme as they were a gift because it allowed me to tell my story and help people. And I have had people email me, text me, call me and say, girl, thank you. I stopped. I just stopped.
Yes, so I love that. So before we get started, I do like little icebreaker questions. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I am the last person that you would expect to not know how to manage stress because I am a positive psychology coach. And all we talk about is resources and resilience. And so what I looked up and realized that I was doing a lot of work in DEI, which is stressful. I was doing a lot of work around post-COVID transitions, and trauma, meaning people couldn't go back to work the way that they were, and they were having to deal with that. So I was coaching them through that process. And then I was also coaching people in general just around rebuilding their life. So I'm the person who's supposed to have this all figured out, right? Well, not exactly. I found out at age 62 that my brain had just had too much. And so the short story is that I, in 2019, lost my best friend, my dad. He lived to be 94 years old. It was such a blessing, but it was tough because I really missed him and I was dealing with his estate and all that goes along with that and the settlement of that. And then COVID, my husband was one of the first cases in Fort Lauderdale to get COVID in 2020. And then also I was working for a cruise brand that unfortunately couldn't sail and people were yelling at me to get their money back. And then I also was just dealing with my own stuff of just building a coaching business. And so it was a lot. And I kept saying, Stephanie, you can handle this. You can handle this. This is what you do.
Right.
Well, there's a very important book, The Body Keeps a Score. And that's one thing that I was not seeing. And so I was able by the middle of 2022 to kind of relaunch my brand. I was working for a travel brand. It was a lot. It was new, a lot of tech that I had to learn very quickly. I was just working through trying to learn a lot of different things. And on Halloween of 2022, Rochelle, I got a chime on my Slack and I heard it in my headset, but I didn't know where my phone was. And I turned to get the phone and the room did this. And I remember thinking, uh-oh. And then I fell to the floor and started shaking. And I screamed for my husband. Thankfully, he was not riding his bicycle that day. If he'd been on a motorcycle, he would have been able to get to me. If he was on a bike, he wouldn't have. But thankfully, he was home. He came in. He said, what? I said, call 911. I explained to him that something was wrong and I could not stop shaking. He was rubbing my hand, telling me to breathe. We got EMS on the phone and they basically got me to the ER. Via ambulance. And it was a pretty severe, it was a scary situation.
Right.
But we sat down with the doctor. We went over everything. He's like, Ms. Harris, what's going on? I said, I don't know. You're the doctor. You tell me. I'm fine. And he said, well, no, you're not. So he said, tell me about the last few days. I said, well, I flew to Atlanta for a business meeting. I was hanging out with my coworkers, don't really drink whiskey, had some whiskey, didn't feel so great, got a little sick to my stomach after I ate. He said, is that normal? I said, well, no, but it wasn't related to the alcohol, I don't think, because I didn't really have a lot of alcohol. It wasn't like I, was turning it up. And so he's taking notes and he's telling me about the headache. I said, it would not go away. And he said, okay, what did you do? I said, I went to bed early Saturday. I got up Sunday and said, come on, girl, let's get it together. Let's go to Orange Theory. So I go to Orange Theory. For those of you who don't know, it's a high intensity, very competitive workout. I had no business doing that with a headache and having been sick the day before. But because I'm Stephanie, I said, let's do it. Got about 25 minutes into the class and realized this is an hour and a half class. Normally it's an hour. And so the woman next to me says, well, you're here, girl. Might as well do it. I said, yeah, she's right. Got me a little extra water, kept going. By 3:00 Sunday, I could hardly think. Everything felt horrible, but I kept going. And guess what happened Monday morning? That was the first of the 2 seizures that I experienced.
Okay.
So when we looked over all this and the doctor said, you just did too much. And oh, by the way, I was 62 at the time. He's like, I'm 35 and I don't do that over a weekend. I said, yeah, my husband's over there going, she extra.
Right.
But I did take stock in what he said. I backed off of my workouts. I doubled my water. I was in Florida that summer. I added electrolytes. I spoke with my primary. She said, Ms. Harris, we told you about managing your ability to do a lot of things. Let's cut that in half. And people are telling me this, Rochelle, but I'm still like doing my thing. Still doing it. And so I did pretty well for about 10 days. Came up to DC to visit family and to go to a doctor's appointment. And that's when everything changed. I didn't feel well for a couple of days. Again, had a little whiskey. Not a lot. I don't want y'all to think I'm over here turning it up. I just want you to know that the alcohol introduction did impact all of this. And that was important because what they look for is removing things that are the offenders. And one of the offenders was alcohol.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, this was a good drink. It was muddled whiskey with some berries, and I was taking my time sipping. We were out with my good friend, and I felt okay. The next day, not really. Didn't work out. Took some lasagna, which is my healing food, to a friend. And he looked at me, he said, girl, you okay? I said, I'm just a little tired. Our flight got in late, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, take care of yourself. He's such a nice person. He's no longer with us. But his last words to me were, just take care of yourself. So we go to dinner with my friends. Another person looks at me and says, girl, you okay? And then I'm getting a complex, like, what is wrong with me? And like, I'm thinking, well, my lash is crooked. Like, why do you keep asking? And she's like, no, your eyes look a little weird. And a friend of ours had just had a stroke. So I asked Mark, am I okay? And I'm moving my hands. He's like, you're fine. So I took a couple sips of water. I was eating soup. And I remember being very conscious of the pace of which the spoon was coming to my face, like it was slow motion. And then I looked around and the room started to do this. So I told my husband, Mark, I said, Mark, can you take me to the restroom? He came around to the side of the table, grabbed my left arm. I hit him in the face and had a grand mal seizure for about maybe 30 seconds. I'm aware of this the whole time.
Right.
And my girlfriend next to me is rubbing me as she's talking to me. And I'm telling myself, girl, calm down, stop shaking. And then I stop. And by this point, I open my eyes. There's a doctor kneeling in front of me. He says, ma'am, do you know where you are? I said, yeah, I'm at such and such a restaurant. I had a party here. These are my friends. I'm fine. Have another one. This one was about 45 seconds. This time I hit my head and I hit my arm. And they were trying to keep me on the sofa section of this booth so that I didn't get on the floor and cause further injury to my body. So I stopped seizing. My girlfriend says, you're going to be okay. Just breathe. And then the manager came over and said, we've dispatched EMS. Can we do anything for you? I said, yes, I think I'm going to get sick. So he brings over the wastebasket. I get sick. And then being the priss that I am, I'm like, oh my God, I need mouthwash. I need water. The doctor said no water because if they have to intubate you, you could have a problem with water in your lungs. So that's a good point. I said, okay, ice. Just give me some ice. I'm licking ice. I have another one. This one's about maybe a minute. I could not stop. I mean, I literally was just flailing. And all I'm saying to myself is do not wet your pants. Whatever you do, do not wet your pants. And this is the control freak about me. Of all of this, that's all I could latch on to was wetting my pants. And so I did not, I'm happy to say. But by this point, I'm really scared.
Yeah.
Because this time I have had a succession. They're longer and clearly awake, and I don't know what's wrong. And I had not had any alcohol that night. Just side note. So EMS comes and they explain because we're downstairs and there's no elevator, they're going to have to put me in a chair. And so they put me in the chair. I have another one. This one was very quick because he literally is like a scene out of Saturday Night Live. He just pulls these straps down and immobilizes me immediately. And he says, ma'am, we're going to get you upstairs and take you to the hospital.
Okay.
They take me upstairs. We have a long conversation, epilepsy, stroke, diabetic. My husband's there telling him, nope, nope, nope. She's the healthiest person I know. But this did happen a couple of weeks ago. Not so severe, but it did happen. So all I'm thinking about is I'm 62 and I'm an epileptic. What the hell? And
Right.
so I just can't fathom that. And
Yeah.
so I get to the hospital. I have a long conversation with the doctor. She's an internist. She's a hospitalist, actually. And she says, I feel like this is stress-based. And I was like, stress-based? How is that? She's like, I'm not the expert, but I feel like you've had a lot going on. From what you've told me, you've been a high performer all your life, multiple businesses, corporate, mommy, wife, all that.
Right.
And I just feel like it may be too much for your brain. Nothing's too much for my brain. I could do it all. Well, no. So got a little sleep. The hospital's not the place you get any rest. Woke up
At all.
about 7, started looking up causes of seizures. And I thought, you know what? I started to think maybe I really do have something going on that is not based in the etiology of my brain being harmed, but maybe this is just my brain's response to something. But I didn't
Right.
know if it was stress, but I knew it was something. So Dr. Matthews comes in, such a nice guy. I give him my life story. He's like, I'm going to make it really easy. At 32, you have a child, you're married, you're working, you're doing voiceovers and real estate transactions and hustling and bustling. It's no big thing. At 42, you keep going. At 52, your brain has done this for 20, 30 years.
Right.
It's been pushed. He said, you get to 4 o'clock, you seem like you probably have a sip of coffee or a sip of water. I'm like, is it that obvious? He said, I'm here to tell you at 62, your brain is telling you, I'm done. I'm done. So he said, when you get back to Florida, go to the Cleveland Clinic, check yourself into the epilepsy management unit, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. That's what I did about 6 weeks later. And they got to the sleep deprivation part of the study. Now, this is important. I've got 32 electrodes in my head, tethered to a base of wires, and I can't go anywhere.
Right.
And so the first thing that's really important is that I thought this was a great time to get caught up with everything. So I've got the laptop, the iPad, the phone, and I'm emailing and getting stuff done and posting. And I'm just like, yes. And the tech comes in and says, Miss Harris, what are you doing? What do you mean? What am I doing? She says, you're shutting down my equipment. I said, what do you mean I'm shutting down your equipment? She's like, you're running too much electromagnetic interference with all of this. You got to give up something. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll turn off my phone and I'll shut down the iPad. And I was mad because I was in a groove, right?
Right.
So Mark looks at me. He says, babe, they can't help you if you don't help yourself. I said, he's right. He's always right. He's right. So I calmly start watching TV, flipping through a magazine, mindlessly scrolling. And I realized at that point to unwind on demand. Like if I'm planning to unwind, that's one thing. For someone to tell me you got to unwind, it's not easy. Not easy. And so what does that mean? That means that my internal narrative was so locked in to go, that to stop in the midst of a health crisis still was difficult.
Right.
Because I had sold myself on my worth being linked to my output. I'm going to say that again. I had sold myself into believing that my value was based on my output. And why is that important? That is what I consider to be the disease of today. The person who has the most posts, the person who has the best Substack, the person that has the most podcasts, we glorify that.
Yep.
Girl, you see how they posted? They doing the most. Look, they here, there, they everywhere. But what are they doing at night? Are they sleeping? Are they eating? Are they drinking their water? Are they going to the doctor? Are they listening to their body? Maybe, maybe not. But to have that amount of output on your own, I'm not saying teams can't support that, but you as an individual being constantly engaged, constantly pushing, constantly just on is not the way we're designed to be.
Right.
So here's where the story gets good. So the doctor comes in and says, well, Miss Harris, now that we've got you all of your technology, we're going to sleep deprive you. I said, what? He said, you're going to get 4 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period.
How you do that?
Girl. Okay. So I said, I can have caffeine, right? Oh, yeah, you can have caffeine. I can have food. Yeah. Okay. I'm good. And then my husband said, I got you because he's a night owl.
Okay.
So I'm thinking he'll be good till about 2:00 at least. So we get to and I got to pick the window. So I did 4:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. the next day, and I got to sleep from
Okay.
4 a.m. to 8 a.m. So I'm getting ready, like a mindset. Like, you could do this. I wanted to get up and do jumping jacks, but I had so many wires I couldn't. So I said, I could do this. I could do this. I'm going to stay up. So I get to about 7. I start yawning, have some coffee. I'm good.
Right.
I get to about 10:30 and I'm starting to do this. And Mark's like nudging me, girl, can't go to sleep now. I said, ooh, let's call a family member. And he said, I don't know if they want to talk. And I said, wait, they always want to talk. He said, well, they're kind of going through a split up with their spouse. I went nuts. They can't split up. No. And I'm crying. I mean, it was so extreme. And I thought to myself, why are you responding this way? I was tired. Right. What do you think happened an hour and a half later? Seizure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it was very clear. Being sleep deprived, being overwhelmed, being emotionally challenged was where my brain fell apart.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. So they come in and they go through a whole thing. There's like 4 or 5 nurses. They're checking to see if I wet my pants. I said, you don't need to worry. I did not.
Right.
They had the emesis basin in case I got sick. They're taking my blood pressure. Do you know where you are? Do you know what day it is? Who's this person? Who's that person? Taking my pulse. I said, I'm fine. And they're like looking at me like, you're not fine. You're absolutely not fine. Now, I did tell Mark, if I have a seizure in the hospital, record it because I want to see. So while I'm having the seizure, he's of course concerned with me and looking over me. I'm like, record this. I laugh at myself because I am amazed at how in the midst of something so extreme, I have the presence of mind. You got the B-roll? Because that's how controlling I was. I was so locked into everything that I had the presence of mind to say, did you get the B-roll? And so he did. He got a little snippet of it, but not the worst of it, but enough for you to see that I did have a grand mal situation going on. But the next morning, so I woke up at 8. The next morning, the doctor comes in and he sits on the bed and says, so are you familiar with PNES? I'm like, no, what is that?
Right.
He said, psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. And I thought about it and I said, psychogenic. I know that means born in the mind, not in the body, meaning that it doesn't have a biological situation going on. And so I said, I don't have epilepsy. He said, no, you don't, but you have something that is stress-based. And then he showed me the tape of an epileptic seizure and my tape. My brain was fine. My brain waves were totally intact.
Wow.
And he said, your body is telling you it's had enough. So I sat there and he said, and I'm going to tell you, you have one of these driving, you have one of these in the bathroom, it'll be a last. So I paused, teared up a little bit. He said, we're going to have you talk with psychiatry to figure out a strategy to get to the bottom of this. Now, I was trying to be that typical Black person. I ain't crazy. I'm not talking to psychiatry. I said, don't do that. Talk to somebody because clearly something is wrong.
Right.
Clearly. So the psychiatrist gets on Zoom. Very nice man. What's going on, Miss Harris? I said, well, I feel like you probably know. He's like, I want to hear it from you. Like, what is doing this to your brain? Tell me everything. So I went down the list. The last 2 years have been filled with this, I'm that. And he's like, yeah, you're 62. So I see you're about to be 63. You've been at this a long time. You've been pushing your brain for a long time. He said, have you been in therapy? I said, most of my life. He said, well, we got to go back, I think, because you are having something that is trauma-based, I believe. And I'm like, trauma-based? What are you talking about? I'm fine. We had a little trauma possibly in childhood that we're not talking about. I said, well, we talked about it, but yeah, I had a mom who was unemotionally or emotionally unavailable for a period of time. Yeah, we worked through that. And I don't want to divulge into that. I want to honor my mother as best I can, but there was some substance stuff going on there and it affected me. And I did not want that to be my lens, Rochelle, by which I processed everything because I felt that I had forgiven her. I'd healed. She'd gone to heaven. Let's move on. Body keeps a score. Body keeps a score. So yeah, up here, I'd done all that intellectualizing and forgiving, but my body still had that deep-seated trauma of my experiences as a child. So
Wow.
we agree. Oh, and then he tried to give me Xanax. Nothing wrong with people who are on Xanax. I'm not trying to bash Xanax. I used to sell it. I wasn't taking it. I
Right.
knew that that would not help me. And he said, well, Miss Harris, it might help you take the edge. I said, okay, I want you to lean into the screen. I need to learn how to take the edge off. I don't want to rely on a medication.
Exactly.
I want to say to myself, this is too much. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Because the issue with me was that I did not have true anxiety disorder, true depression. My
Mhm.
brain chemistry, as we saw, and my brain waves worked fine. I just had an overwhelming desire to bypass what my body was telling me. That's
Gotcha.
the difference. So
Mhm.
when the fatigue and the distractions and the signals that I was doing too much became evident, I pushed past those. I'm going to say
Gotcha.
that one more time. And I repeat myself because I want people to hear this. When I was getting the signals that I was doing too much and I had enough, I pushed past them. And when you
Mhm.
ignore your body's signals, you're chemically destroying it, you're energetically destroying it, and you're physically destroying it. And I'm going to
Mm.
explain what I mean. When your body has had enough, it's telling you, I need to dip out and stop. When
Mhm.
you push past that, you are inducing stress-related hormones. Cortisol is a big one.
Right. We
We
hear
know
about
about
that one
that.
a lot. Yeah, Imma
We
say
hear
we hear
about
about
that
that.
one a lot. We hear
Yes.
about that one a lot. And I just turned my phone off, but I have red filters on my phone, my iPad, everything. Oh, my iPad's right here. So what I'm trying to do throughout the course of the day is I'm trying to protect. You see how red that is? I'm trying
Yeah.
to protect my body's input of the harmful UV and blue
Mm.
light so that it doesn't stay hyperstimulated. And it's important more so at night than during the day, but I do it all the time because I'm trying to set
Right.
my melatonin levels up to be at their highest at night and my
Mhm.
cortisol levels to be at the lowest so I could get deep, restful sleep.
Mm.
And that's the whole thing. And getting outside and seeing the sun in the morning is super important. It also resets your chemicals and your hormones. And if you're postmenopausal, it's really important because
Right.
that's a whole nother podcast. But but that is super, super important. Excuse me one second
Right.
here. I'm getting a little warm telling my story. So I want to impress upon everybody that's listening that your body is giving you signals, interrupt signals, we'll call them, for a reason. And you have
Mhm.
to honor them. And if you're
Right.
a late night coffee drinker and you're pushing your adrenals, it's not going to end well because your adrenal glands are going to eventually say, I've had enough. And I've
Yep.
had adrenal fatigue on and off for 20 years. And I stopped taking the supplements because I didn't want to have my body override. I now know what it feels like to have adrenal fatigue. I didn't want my body to just keep going, like, oh, take my
Right.
supplements and keep going. So after they
Mhm.
were healed, I said, okay, now I know I have to stop. I just have to stop. And so the short story is I was discharged with a diagnosis of PNES, went on about my business, set up the therapy appointment, and then it dawned on me. I was anxious about driving because
Mm.
remember, the doctor said, if
Yep.
you have one of these driving, it could be your last.
Right.
So I'm sitting there and my husband says, you okay driving? I said, I go 5 minutes to the gym. I go 10 minutes to get my nails done, but
Mhm.
So I finally started driving a little bit longer, but in the back of my mind, I always had an exit strategy. So I stayed in the
Yeah.
right lane a lot of the time. I drove a little bit slower. And then one day it dawned on me, I said, you know what? You can't live like this. Your
Mm.
subconscious is constantly giving you this fear feedback, and that's not the way to
Yeah.
live. And so, because when the student is willing, the teacher appears,
Mhm.
I got a guy was introduced, I should say, to a guy in my life by a coaching referral. And he was a
Okay.
co-coach in my similar space. He didn't do positive psychology. He actually was a hypnotist.
Oh,
And he
okay.
called me about a coaching program. And in the course of us talking, and I said, well, what are you doing? What are you looking to do? He said, well, I actually hypnotized the entire inmate base of one of the Miami-Dade jails. And I said, you did
Mm.
what? And he said,
Well,
yeah. And I said, tell me more about that. And then he
right.
explained the program. And he said, it's all about your subconscious. I said, well, let me tell you my story. I just got out of the hospital about 3 months ago, 2 actually at that point, and I had stress-induced seizures. I do not want to embrace that title of that diagnosis. It's just something that happened, but I'm aware of it. So I need to be conscious. And he said, I got you in 3 sessions. I said, 3 sessions? He said,
Oh,
yeah, we just need to tell your brain to turn that off and to get rid of that fear. And it was that
huh.
simple. He played some music. I sat down in a comfortable chair. He had me go into a deep, relaxed state
Mm-hmm.
with breath work. And we talked about releasing my anxiety and my fear. And more importantly, the mantra he left me with was, I already know what I know.
Okay.
So there's no need to continually search.
Right.
And so when I got overtired about a year later, no, actually 6 months later, I had 2 instances of getting overtired. I started to feel that room narrowing.
Mm-hmm.
I got Mark. We did our breath work, tactile feedback. He gave me a big hug. I was anxious. I said, I cannot have a seizure in the middle of Montana. I was glamping. So this won't work. We will not be having this happen. And thankfully,
Right.
there was a doctor there who's a friend who was able to help me go through the release and the relaxation. But I had the experience of the close call. And that's what's most important because I was able to back away from that. I was able to
Okay.
unwind that anxiety. And so now the key is overtired. And I know what that looks like.
Mhm.
I know what that feels like. I know the aura of the room coming inward. And more importantly, I know how long I've been up.
Yeah.
I know. I know. I wear a Whoop that tracks my restorative sleep. I wear a Garmin that tracks all my other activities. I know exactly what my body is going through. I know what recovery looks like, and I know what rest and digest looks like. And
Wow.
that's what our goal as people should be, to know our signals, to just know when to stop.
Oh, wow. That story is mind blowing. Um, because like I said before we even started, like stress comes, everybody's stressed in life, but the way our body deals with it is different.
Mm-hmm.
So for like you, it was the seizures, and I've went to the doctor for mine, but they could never tell me why my eyesight would just go blank. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. I just never looked into it. But with you talking and all of that, I'm like, yeah, I be tired. I have migraines. I deal with migraines on a daily basis. Like it could be stress induced that my sight would just go away for like 5, 10 seconds and it'll come back.
So, do you feel the beginning stages? I'm not diagnosed, I'm just asking. Do you
Yeah.
feel the beginning stages of the headache and the migraines?
Yeah. I feel them coming on.
Okay.
And
Is
I don't take anything until it's there.
and is there preceding behaviors like you didn't sleep well, you didn't eat on time, you didn't have enough
Mhm.
water, or any of those signals going on?
All of those signals. Yep.
So I'm going to
All of those.
challenge you. I'm going to
Okay.
challenge you. I know you didn't expect this, right? I'm
No,
going
no,
to
no.
challenge you because you're young. You're young.
Mhm.
I'm 66. I could be your mom. And
I'm
so,
40. So yeah.
yeah, 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 I could be your mom. And so I want you to be okay. What good is your future if you're not in it?
I
I want
know.
you to be okay. And so at
Mhm.
40, you know what your body needs.
Oh yeah.
So I would say set the timer. And that's when you eat and drink water. Just start with that. That's simple.
Right. It is. It's very simple.
And you're busy, you have your own business, you got a side hustle, you're a podcast host. You obviously have a lot going on.
I know. I
So,
got three kids. I
oh,
got a
you have
lot.
3 children? Oh my
Yeah, I have a
goodness.
19-year-old who moved to New York with his girlfriend. I have a 10-year-old who has Down syndrome. That's my only daughter. And then I have a 5-year-old son.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you. And extra love and prayers to the 10-year-old with Down
Oh,
syndrome. That's a special gift, a
mm-hmm.
special gift. Your children
Mhm.
always teach you what you need to know about yourself. But with
Yes.
that gift, you're learning to have the biggest heart and the biggest amount of compassion that a parent can have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's teaching me a lot.
Yep. Yep. And so
Mhm.
you have to take care of yourself, not
I
just for them, but for you.
know. I know. That's the hard
And
part.
and 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 setting the timer, being intentional with eating and water is
Mhm.
so important.
Look, I got my Got my water right here with
Good,
the
good,
electrolytes.
good, good. And if you have to just take a day to go get your physical, your well woman exam, whatever you need, just block out the day. That's what I do.
Okay.
I just block out the day. They mess me up because the dentist is going on vacation. I'm like, girl, I had the whole day. I was going to get my full body check because I do
Right.
the dermatologist with the light. There's nothing like a lady with a light looking at every corner of your body. You're like, oh my goodness. But you're
Yeah.
out in the sun. It's a melanoma prevention plan. And then I'm getting my hearing
Yeah.
checked. So I'm doing body and ears and thought teeth that one day, but that didn't work out. I already did mammo, DEXA scan, and wellness check 2 weeks ago. So I
Okay.
tried it and I did it all in one day. I try to just take days whenever I need to, block everything and just get it done.
Get it done all in one day instead of separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I never
Because that
thought
way
about that.
you just if you can work it out. Obviously it's
Yeah.
a scheduling challenge. But if you do it far enough in advance, hopefully you can get at least 4 or 5 knocked out.
That's true. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it.
Exactly.
Okay. So you told us your story, the breaking point. So one question is, what was going through your mind after your seizures?
That's when the real work started, because I knew I had to work on sleep. I knew I had to be intentional about boundaries. And here's the problem with boundaries. I was always the person that everybody turned to. Like my girlfriend said, you're the black yellow pages, Stephanie. We know if you don't have the answer, you will find somebody who does. And it's true. And so I had a very hard time spinning away from that and saying, you know what, girl, let me get back to you on that next week. Or simply saying, I don't know anyone.
Right.
And most people are like, you don't know anyone? Well, how can you not know? I said, I know it's hard to believe, but I don't know anyone. But go to this website, research the people, and ask questions. And so when I looked up and said, I want to talk about this, this became my thing. I want to get booked as a speaker. I want to be on podcasts. I want to, expand the knowledge base around this. But when I realized I wanted to do that, I had to look at my life and say, how are you going to do that and still keep going with your other coaching projects? And so that's when I really started to lean into time management, which is still a challenge because I try to do way too much. But I do say to myself, and these are when the narratives become really crystal clear for me. You know what you could do today and you know what you can. Honor what the priorities are and everything else will get done when it gets done. And say, I'll get back to you if you just can't do it right now. Like one of my things is to allow myself to be interrupted, and that just had to stop. Because once I stopped saying, okay, give me 5 minutes. If you say, give me 5 minutes 5 times, that's 25 minutes that you've added to your day. And you have no idea what those 5-minute increments will bring. It might bring a research project. It might bring a phone call. It might bring, you just don't know. And so when I go back to Robert and the hypnotist session or the hypnosis session, and he said, you already know what you already know. I know my boundaries. I know my limits. And literally, Mark has looked at me and said, I know we're not on that laptop at 9:30 when we turn our technology off at 9. And I'm like,
you're like, oops.
He's right.
But that's what I'm learning too. Cause like with my boyfriend, he'd be like when we're together, he doesn't want me on my phone because I'm glued to my, this thing is somewhere near me all the time.
Yes.
And he was like, are you with me or are you with your phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
You got to set a timer with that too. Okay, babe, just give me 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes.
But I'm not doing it. I'm literally just like either playing games or like scrolling Facebook. And it's like, why am I why?
Oh, I thought you were doing something important, like booking your next podcast guest.
That too sometimes, or, sometimes I am like doing videos, like exporting videos and making reels and all of that. But it's like, I have all day to do that. Why am I doing it?
Exactly. Give your boo some quality time.
Yeah.
And so back to your question, I took some notes and this continual task management had to stop. And just doing too much had to stop. And I actually asked AI for a little input on task management in blocks of time, because one of the things that I realized, if I focused on 60 minutes and not being interrupted, I got a lot done.
True.
I got a lot done. And so again, sleep was super important and understanding what overwhelm felt like. So if I was up too many hours because I was traveling, I then I will pay for an extra night if I'm traveling internationally so that
Mhm.
if I land at 7 a.m., I can go to the hotel because I
Okay.
can't stay up all night. A lot of people can. I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do that. And one time I was able to sweet talk the nice manager and I said, can I check in early? I just, please, please, please. She said,
Yes.
let me hook you up and I won't charge you. And I was like, yay, because I was
No.
just like a zombie and I really needed to sleep. And so
Yeah.
poor sleep patterns, when I say poor sleep patterns, back to the people who say, I was up till 3 o'clock doing a reel. I was up till 1 o'clock. Good for you, bad for your brain.
Right.
Bad, bad, bad for your brain. So understanding what poor sleep strategies look like. You have to
Mhm.
have consistent bedtime. And they say even on the weekend, I'm going to get some extra hours on the weekend. I'm sorry. I'm not getting up. I'm not doing that. But even on the weekends, if you can, be consistent because your body needs that. What happens when
Mm.
we get into the deep REM sleep, we cure our brain. We
Mm.
clean it up. And I'm in an
Okay.
Alzheimer's study at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And one of the things that they said is the biggest predictor of dementia is inconsistent sleep.
Wow.
What's good for the brain is good for the body.
Wow. Okay.
And so the last piece of it is boundary setting and work-life balance. The narratives that no longer suit you have to go. So my narrative of, okay, let me get back to you in 5 minutes. No. What
Mm-mm.
exactly do you need me to do? Well, I'm looking at doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I really could use some help. I said, well, wait a minute now. This sounds like a coaching session. And I'll give you a friends and family discount, but I have
Right.
to value my time. I can't keep giving away
Mhm.
my time. I cannot keep giving away coaching sessions dressed up in the form of, girl, let me just get your opinion. Can't do that anymore.
Ah.
And I have gifted coaching sessions, but I've also said, I'm going to hook you up. We're going to work through this. Let's do a 5-day intensive. And this is what I'll charge you because it's my
Right.
time. It's my
Yeah.
real estate. I got a lot of real estate up here.
Yeah.
And so one of the stories that I talk about, and especially for Black women navigating all of the complexities of life, is that we have to put our oxygen mask on first.
Mm.
And if you don't do that, and this is the most staggering, scary statistic. 59% of Black women over the age of 20 have some form of cardiovascular disease, either in the form of high blood pressure,
Mm.
high cholesterol, or something else going on
Mhm.
under the umbrella of cardiovascular disease. If you go on to goredwomen.com, they highlight that. And so that's why eating on time, reducing the stress hormones,
Mhm.
cortisol, that's just belly fat, it just goes right there.
Yep.
All of that has been documented. We have to have boundaries and a process. Now, I'm an only child.
Okay.
And it was very lonely at points in time, but I tell
Mhm.
you, I ain't got no sibling drama. None. So I can speak freely about
Right.
navigating life's complexities without siblings. I don't have any.
Right.
But if your siblings are getting on your nerves, you got to be able to say, sibling, you getting on my nerves.
Mhm.
And of course, my girlfriend was like, you can't say that. You don't have siblings. I said, okay, well, let me do me a solid because I'm going to do you a solid. The next time your sister calls you and asks you to keep the kids because you have none and you have no life according to her, say,
Right.
you know what, sis, give me a week and let's plan the next time that I keep
Mhm.
the kids. And guess what? The sister started doing that.
Mm.
She started saying, you know what? I can't use her as the ad hoc babysitter anymore. I have
Right.
to honor the fact that while she has no children, she has a life.
Yep.
I told my son, look, think about what you're about to ask me. And
Mhm.
if you know it's going to upset me, don't ask me.
Exactly.
And of course, I'm joking a little bit. I want to have a very open relationship.
Yeah.
But what was happening is I was becoming that perpetual sounding board. And he's a lot
No.
better now because he's learned how to internalize some of his dialogue and do his own, we call it self-efficacy in positive psychology, where you look at where you were successful in the past
Mhm.
and you use those same skills
Mm.
in the current situation.
Okay.
And so that's a very important psychological resilience strategy because
Mhm.
I tell a lot of people, well, you've been here before. And she's like, I did have a sick brother before he passed. I think I can use those same skills to help deal with my sick sister. She's different, but the scenario is somewhat the same. Let me
Right.
have a family meeting with a doctor and all of us, just like we did with my brother, and all get on the same plan. Sometimes I
Exactly.
just spend my days reminding people of what they've already done.
True. Yeah.
And
'Cause
then I remind myself.
people use it in different areas of their lives.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so when they tell you want to get more steps in, park your car farther away from the
Yep.
door, whatever, I do that. I'll do the
Okay.
same exact thing that I tell people. And I have a fitness background, and I'm very much into brain wellness as well as physical wellness because they're not separated or separate. It can't be separated, I should say. And so one of the
Mhm.
things that I do is I try to embed strategies around navigating life's complexities in a healthy way.
Gotcha.
So when I say to you, Miss Rochelle, we're going to set a timer 3 times a day to eat on time and drink water on time, we're doing that to protect and save, and more importantly, thrive.
Right.
We thrive when we're not dealing with migraines. We thrive
Yeah.
when we're not dealing
Yes.
with anxieties. We thrive when we aren't cringing when we see a text come in from an
Mhm.
annoying coworker. We thrive when we're able to say, you know what? We're going to look at a corporate structure. I'm actually getting ready to do a program for an organization around secondary trauma. And one of the things we're going to
Mhm.
talk about are boundaries, because
Mm.
trauma has no boundaries.
Right.
None. It's going to show up when it shows up. The trigger is going to show up when it
Yep.
shows up. The bad news is going to come when it comes. But you have to be able to say at one point, you know what? We're not going to have emails after 6 p.m. going out to the employee base because they're dealing with so much already.
Exactly.
We've got to cut back.
Yeah.
We've got to cut back. And the studies have shown that when you limit the interruptions, when you treat people like their private lives are private, when you
Mhm.
don't send emails all hours of the day and night and Slack them all hours of the day and night, they do better because there's boundaries and there's
Okay.
balance. Now, balance
Yeah.
is something that's been debated. I've gotten into a couple of heated discussions. There's no such thing as balance, Stephanie. I said, okay, just take a breath. Little triggered, I see. I say,
Uh,
okay, I'll roll back. I'll roll back. There's no
yeah.
such thing as perfect balance at all times, but there are
Right.
times when we can have a level of accountability where we can seek some parity, where we can say,
Mhm.
okay, I volunteered 5 days for that organization. They want me to do 7. I can only continue to do 5
Right.
because that is what I need to stay in balance in my life.
Okay.
So these are all different strategies. I'm really into power cards. I let go of self-judgment. I have a whole bunch. My favorite, Louise Hay.
Okay.
Those are like my little mini prayers that keep me going. And then I also have my own affirmations
Right. Exactly.
around my family, my life, and just the amazing gift I have of wonderful family and friends. And I honor all of my family and friends.
Nice. So I do have a question because I noticed like with sleep, and it has to do with sleep. So I used to, and I need to get back to it. I used to stretch before I slept. So I would meditate and stretch
Mhm.
before I got into bed. And then I wouldn't turn my TV on and I'll put my phone away. So then I slept better. But of course, I got away from that. So now I sleep like crap. What are some things that you do to sleep better at night?
Well, like I said, I have a little thing with Netflix. And so I give myself a couple of days a week to watch and fall asleep, but there was a guy on the Today Show. He said, I am a sleep medicine doctor and my wife falls asleep with the TV on. And we laughed because I don't drink. So it's like, if I have a half a glass of champagne in 2 months, that's a big thing for me. So
Right.
Netflix is like my cocktail. It's like my unwinding, but I know that's not what you're supposed to do. Now do turn
Mm-hmm.
the phone off, but I don't necessarily turn off Netflix every night.
Okay.
But what is so important to understand is that whole dynamic with the melatonin. The melatonin, mine was completely reversed. My melatonin was sky high in the morning and my cortisol was sky high at night. It's like, no, we're supposed to be the opposite. High
Right.
cortisol in the morning and low and high melatonin at night. But my body was so used to pushing itself. And
Mm-hmm.
I slept with the blinders on. I like the dark shades. Within
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes, you should take the blinders of awakening, take the blinders off, get outside if you can, see some bright sun, and that will stimulate everything back to where it should be. So your
Okay.
melatonin starts to drop, a healthy level of cortisol starts to rise. And so
Okay.
back to sleep, I take a hot shower.
Okay.
I do not take a hot shower with the lights on. I light a candle. I take a hot shower, usually with some kind of a lavender substance, because that's very relaxing to the neurology. And then I get in the bed. I take my supplements and I get in the bed.
Okay.
Now, the little Netflix thing, what I've started to do is set a timer. Okay, I'm going to watch 2 episodes and turn it off. Then I do my prayer and meditation. What caused you to stop stretching and doing what you were doing? Are you able to isolate that?
No, I just think it was just being busy throughout the day and just getting right into bed. After my shower, I just got right into bed and went to sleep. But then I'm up and down all night.
Yeah.
And I'm tossing and turning.
Yeah.
And I'm up and then I go back to sleep. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm sleepy all day.
Right. And then I end up substituting water for coffee. I have 1 cup, but then I might find myself sneaking a little bit more if I'm a little bit tired because I stayed up. So I would say we have to simplify the bedtime routine, because if it gets too involved, we're not going to do it.
Right.
So I would say start with setting a timer. 10 o'clock is the time that we start to prepare to get ready for bed. And I know you have a 10-year-old and I know you have a 5-year-old.
Yep.
And so hopefully the 5-year-old and 10-year-old are already in the bed by 10.
Yes,
hopefully.
they are.
Okay,
yes.
So that's good.
Sleep.
So you have a little bit of me time.
Yes.
And so, and I don't know how you connect with your family, your son and daughter, in New York. But I would say,
New York. Yeah.
son, early, and maybe all y'all FaceTime together, do the family meetup early. So everybody can see each other and say, hey, how you doing? How's your day? Love you. Bye. Early. So that way it's not, oh my God, I didn't check in with my son. Oh man, I checked with my daughter. Get that out of the way early. So everybody gets loved up. And then at 10, you start with whatever you need to do. Make your to-do list for the next day. Make sure that anything that's really super, super important gets done first thing the next day. I was already doing all my notes for this yesterday, first thing, because I did not want to be doing it this morning because I was on vocal rest, first of all, for the most part. But I knew if I had to ask questions or get some feedback or talk to Claude or whatever, I was going to use my voice, and that was going to interrupt my flow and energy for the podcast. So I'm always thinking ahead of energy expansion. If I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Tomorrow's a big day. Let me start getting ready for bed at 9:30.
Right.
And so what does that mean? Well, I'm going to try and get in and do Orange Theory solid core in the morning. Let me get my clothes out, do my water bottle, make sure my devices are charged. And then I'll get in the bed right after my shower, no TV, maybe read for 10 minutes.
Right.
Whatever little chunk you need, but starting with a timer, that's when your body says, okay, it's time to get ready to go to bed. And then the other thing, if you do wake up, please do not turn on anything. No TV, no phone. That is the worst thing you can do. Number one, it starts to engage your senses, which you're not supposed to do because we're sleeping, and the blue light fries the brain.
Yeah.
And so I would say set a timer, get back to your stretching, and honor and it worked. It's not like, so many people say, well, that doesn't work. I tried. It works.
No, it worked.
And you probably didn't have as many migraines, I'm guessing.
I did.
You got good sleep. Yep. 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 So you know what to do. You already know what you already know.
I know. That's just like working out. When you stop working out for so long, it's hard to get back into it.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. But this is something that has a direct benefit. You sleep better. You don't have the migraines as much. So that's super important. And text me if you want me to remind you. I'm really good at annoying people. I told this girl stay off her phone after 9:30. Why she text me at 10:45? I said, I didn't answer her. I did not answer her. Because I might go in on her and I want to stay her friend.
Right. The next morning, it was 10:45. You weren't supposed to text me after 9:30.
Like, what are you doing? And she says, I'm a doom scroller. Don't embrace that. Do not embrace that. Do not.
And when we're scrolling, all we're doing is looking at other, there's no substance in just scrolling.
I have yet to find it. Now, I will say there's a couple, because I already clicked on one. There's some brain science geek people that I love that have some wonderful affirmations around protecting the brain, specifically around stress. Okay. And I just want to briefly touch on this because when people talk about reestablishing healthy boundaries and creating narrative shifts. There's something called neuroplasticity where your brain, like let's take a stroke patient. I happen to be a medical advocate for a stroke patient. And the neurologist said something so important. Your brain will learn how to rework it. You just have to give it a chance. And so he says, well, I don't have the joy when I'm playing my musical instrument. And the doctor said, that's okay. The joy will come back. Just keep doing it because that's healing your brain. And so when I say to myself, turn off the TV and just do it, do not agonize over what I'm missing. I am saying to my brain, stop the feedback of the television at 10:30 and go inward. And then if I do that enough, my brain will not even think about Netflix at 10:30. It will think about going inward at 10:30 because that's what I've been doing. It's like the water. I'm like, oh my God, water. I'm so sick of it. All I drink is water. Then I added all this stuff. And then I looked at the sugar content and I was like, well, this is as bad as soda. And so some of these electrolyte replacements, you have to really watch what's in the actual ingredients. And so I started just 90% good old water. And it doesn't bother me. It's refreshing. It's 100 degrees outside literally right now in DC. And so I'm working very hard on neuroplasticity as the new paradigm of creating healthy, lasting behaviors. And so when a woman says to me, I've just got to get rid of this weight, I don't know what to do, I'll say, well, I do have a health coach who can help you, but let me just give you one tidbit. Start with saying, I deserve to be healthy.
Right.
And she said, what do you mean? I said, some people don't believe they deserve it. They've been told they don't matter, or they've been told by their family members, girl, stop eating like a rabbit, or stop trying to be cute, or, you think you this, you think you that. And so tell yourself, no, I deserve to be healthy. I don't want to be in that 59% of Black women with heart disease. I don't.
No, I don't at all.
Because I tell myself, you never hear me say I'm getting old. Ever.
No, that's
there ain't no old, no nothing in this.
Right.
None.
All righty. So let's see. Let's do some reflection real quick before we close up. But if your body could have spoken before your seizures, what do you think it would have said?
The first thing would be release the obsession with output. Release that. Because not every day is a day where you have to push and just dump some level of output into the universe. It is completely fine to have a day where you are just present.
Right.
And then when I came to understand that I was in a pretty precarious situation with a scenario with people wanting refunds for this particular travel event that did not occur, I was taking on all of their stress. It was becoming who I was. If I could have looked back, I probably would have engaged a therapist and said, look, what narrative do I have to come up with internally and externally? I need words to tell these people so they won't harass me, because what's happening is I'm starting to wake up anxious because I know when I turn on my phone, I'm going to get cursed out. And so I had to come up months later with my own narrative to say, you know what? This is not your fault. I appreciate what you're going through. I want to help you, but this is what I have done and this is all I could do. And be okay with that. Let it go.
Yeah.
But I carried it. It just started to become who I was. And then it got to be even like it was physically like traveling. Like I would go to musical events and people would spot me. Girl, come here. Let me ask you something. I understand. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a totally different state and they tracked me down. So I got anxious about that. And my husband said, ain't no sunglasses or a hat big enough. They're going to find you.
They're going to find you.
So thankfully that's all in the past, but it was a very horrific situation. So I would say language to establish boundaries and to release a situation and not being linked to my output. Those are the two big things that I would tell myself.
Okay. And if you could go back and speak to the version of yourself before all of this happened, what would you tell her?
Life is wild. There's some rides and some rollers and there's stuff that's going to happen, but you are more than enough and you can handle it.
I like those. So final question. If someone listening today is exhausted, overwhelmed, and ignoring what their body has been trying to tell them, what's the one message you would hope they remember after hearing your story today?
Whew. Number one, you're more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because overwhelm and burnout come about from not being in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get in alignment, and I don't mean in alignment where everything is in a line, I mean you get up and you know why you're here, and everything that you do serves that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're the sibling, let's just say, I'm going to just put this out there, obviously it's a hypothetical because I don't have siblings, but if you're the well-resourced sibling that everybody comes to for money, have a family meeting and say, look, guys, each of you are calling me at various places, different times of places for money. I'm going to have a family meeting to let you know what number I can give to each of you, and we will honor that and move forward. I cannot be the ad hoc bank. I'm not an ATM. Because this poor woman was so overwhelmed that her own financials were suffering because she was giving to her family. And she was becoming depressed and anxious because they were like, well, you're a doctor. A doctor. She was like, yeah, but I'm paying for my parents' house and my house and your
Yep.
house and this and that. I'm not an endless bucket of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, tell them that.
Mm.
Tell them that. And she wanted to hire me. And she said, I can't even commit to a time because everything is always all over the place. I said, now let's change that narrative.
Right.
You've chosen to let everything be all over the place all the time. So we haven't worked together yet, but she is doing better. And so
Good.
I would tell everyone you deserve to be healthy and happy, and you are more than enough.
I like that. So before I go into my unmute prompt and my closing, how can the people reach you if they want to reach out to you? How can they reach you?
Okay, great. Well, my website is shift as in shift your weight, SHIFT with, as in I am with you, WITH, Steph, short for Stephanie, STEPH.com, shiftwithsteph.com. And if you go on, you're going to get one of those wonderful landing page windows that pops up and asks for your email. Email me and I will email you my hot up the press brain health one pager.
Yes.
All
I'm
starts
gonna
with the
be doing that.
brain. Because without your brain, you aren't
You can't
anything.
touch this. You can't touch it without the brain. And I'll put that also, once I post this, I will make sure that they have your website and all of that as well.
Great.
So after
Wonderful.
all of my podcasts, I do an unmute prompt for the audience. So today I want everyone to ask themselves and to journal about, what have I been glorifying that's quietly costing me my peace? Maybe it's overworking. Maybe it's people pleasing. Maybe it's saying yes when you really want to say no. Your body whispers before it screams.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah, another one is, what is your body telling you today? And are you finally ready to listen? So those are my two prompts for today.
Awesome props. Awesome.
Yeah, they're thought provoking because it really makes you think.
Yeah.
What is it? So
Yes.
yeah, that's what I want to leave the audience with today. And if today's conversation reminded you that your health, your peace, and your well-being matter, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs permission to slow down, set boundaries, and choose themselves. Stephanie, I want to thank you for trusting us with your story and for
Thank you.
reminding us, you're welcome, that true strength isn't found in pushing harder. It's found in listening to ourselves.
Amen to that.
And thank you to everyone listening. Until next time, unmute, speak, live. Peace.